Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. Thank you. So, you're probably wondering, good how? Today is not a Saturday, we have a video. This is because I will be answering a question and I will be responding to a request and I'll be giving a tip at the end of the video. Okay. So I got a question from Whimsy Art. I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Please forgive me. And she was asking me, where do I get the beads? I tried to look online if there were options for anyone who is not in South Africa, and unfortunately I couldn't get a shop that sells these kinds of beads. But if you are in South Africa, you can get the beads at any place, any shop that sells traditional items such as traditional materials called ipai, or place or shops that also sells incense, which is impepo, places like that. Places that also sell traditional, what can I say, dishes, ukamba. Those are the places where you can get these beads. So these beads, they come in packets like this. They come in a packet like this. Usually they come in big packets with these maybe 20 packets inside. They come in packets like this. So I hope you're seeing these ones. These beads are a surprise for Saturday. you need to stay tuned, okay? Okay. So I really hope you answered. I'm really sorry if you are in a different country, but I really do feel that beads, you just need to know the pattern. Even though you don't have these beads, you can use glass beads, which are available anywhere in other countries. Okay, so the request that I'll be answering is the one from Ati Jobela. So she asked me that, how do I finish off a bracelet? So that's a request that I'll be responding to. Okay, as you can see here, this thread, which means that's where I was joining. I'm going to leave that out because it's going to be the tip at the end of the video. So this is the bracelet that we were doing on Saturday. So the first tip is that when you do your bracelet, you don't do it all until your wrist closes up. You leave a bit of space, as you can see here. Okay, so now the second step is that you are going to, when you count your beads, every count you're going to minus one bead. So as you know, the rule is that every time when you're turning a corner or when you're starting a new line, you're going to add 4 beads. But this is the last line. The reason I'm doing this is because, as you can see, there are beads probing out, like this one and this one. So the reason when you show this with one bead, you're trying to create a straight line effect on your bracelet. Okay, so as you can see, these are 3 beads, and I insert where I usually insert. That means I did not pull. So usually when we turn, we use 4 beads, but in this case, because this is the last line, you use 3 beads when you turn. So now usually when we are done turning, we use 3 beads, but today we're going to use 2 beads. So your bead counting, you're going to minus it with 2 beads all the time. Okay, and here too I'm going to add 2 beads instead of 3 beads. Okay. Oh, sorry, I forget that the camera is far. Okay, there we go. Now we're at the end, ne? We're also going to use a stopper bead as we usually do when we start. This is my purple. I take 1 bead and I push it down to the end like this. And then, let me bring it closer. I am going to insert my needle in the opposite direction, creating a loop around this 1 bead. And then I'm going to pull. And I have something like this. Now, I'm going to come back again. I'm going back. I took a direction up until here. I'm going back because now we have to create a loop at the end. Okay, so I insert on this bead. Okay, and I pull. Okay, as you can see, it's like this. So I'm going to insert again on 2 more beads. As you can see, I inserted on 2 beads at the same time, and then I pull. So now I'm at the center, as you can see. So I'm going to pick up 15 beads. I'm trying to make a loop that our button will go into. Going to pick up 15 beads. Let me pause and I'll come back once I've picked up the 15. Okay, I have my 15 beads. So you can see 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 15 beads. The size of the number of beads, they create the size of the loop. It's very tricky because you don't want your loop to be small, in which your button won't go in. At the same time, you don't want your loop to be too loose that when you insert your button, the button easily unties. So it's it's kind of tricky. Okay, so I inserted on the next bead next to it. Okay, the thread I'm using now is not double, it's single. It won't really affect your what you're doing. Okay, so this is the loop now. All right, so I'm going to tie a knot around these 2 beads. You see, I'm taking my needle under, and I'm going to tie a knot around. So I'm pulling until there is a nice small circle like this. So there's a nice circle like this. And then I'm going to pull my needle through. You're just tying the knot. The knot has to be in between these 2 beads. Remember, another thing is for you to be discreet. People should not see where you've tied loops or where you've joined. You see, you can never tell that there's a loop here. And then I tie again to make sure that what I tied is secure. I tie again. Sorry. Okay. You see the loop, did the loop, scoop, scoop, the hoop, scoop, scoop, and you pull. Okay. So now one can tell, good, I have a loop here. So when you're doing the bracelet for yourself, or when you have an what can I say? When you have the measurement of the bracelet of who you're making the bracelet for, one button loop is enough. But if you're making for another person, you have to make 2 loops for your button so that it's like an adjustable thing. Okay, so I'm going to go back on the previous bead in which I inserted. Okay. As you can see, I'm going back now. I'm not going forward, I'm going back. Please, that's important. I'm going back where I made my previous, where I poked my needle previously. Okay, and then I go on the actual loop, actual loop. I insert my needle there in the actual loop. As you can see, then I pull. Okay, so I inserted my thread on 7 beads, as you can see. So on the eighth bead, I'm going to insert again, and that's where I pick up my 15 beads again. Okay, so here's my 15 beads, and remember on the 8th bead, ne? So our thread is going at that direction. So now we're going to come back on the 8th bead. You see the direction, and then I pull. There you go. And you have something like this. You have 2 loops, as you can see. So if the button does not fit here, I mean if the bracelet of someone does not fit on this loop, they can also insert the button here. Okay, now I'm going back. Remember, we turned on we went this side and we created our loop and we came back. So now I'm going back here. We came up on this loop, on this side of the loop. Now we're going back on the other side of the loop. Okay, so I insert my needle. I love plastic beads, but they're quite stubborn, you know, in terms of, okay, now we're at the bottom. Then I insert on 1 bead at the bottom. The other, I've inserted on 7 beads. See why here? It's because I didn't pull correctly. And 7 beads. So now this is a bead next to, after I've counted my 7 beads. It's not part of the loop beads. Okay, then I pull my thread so there's no gap here. You see, plastic beads, they're quite stubborn in terms of shape compared to glass beads. Glass beads, they're quite flexible. See, they're stiff now. Okay, so I'm going to make a loop the same as I did here. A knot, sorry, I'm going to tie a knot. I'm going to set my needle under, and make a small circle, and going to put, sorry, I'm going to put my needle through, and then I'm tying a knot. Remember, your knot should be in between the beads, like this, in between the beads, because the aim is not for people to see where you made knots. It's a nice, neat job. Okay. Making another knot, and I'm done for now. You're not done yet, but on this side. Okay, then I'm going to cut. I intentionally cut far from where I should be cutting because that's the tip that's coming. So now we want to create a nice, we're going to put it on the side. We want to create our button. You will need a bigger sized bead than the beads that we've been using. Okay, right, so now I'm going to tie a knot at the end. Okay, so the knot is tied. I'm going to insert, so this bead, I'm going to cover it with the smaller beads, and I'm choosing purple. Remember, we have two opposite sides. We have the side of the loop and the side of the button. So it'll make sense for my bead to be covered in purple beads. Okay, right. So I'm going to take one stopper bead and push it to the end. And make a loop around it, as we usually do with our stopper beads. Okay, now I'm going to insert my big bead, and I'm going to push it down to the end, so you have a situation like this. Okay, so I'm going to pick up 3 beads. Remember, we have to cover this big bead with small beads. So I'm going to insert at the bottom. Remember, this is how our thread is poking out like this, but look where I am inserting my needle at the bottom. So it's like we're making a loop around this big bead, and we have something like this. So I'm going to do this up until the bead is fully covered by these small beads. Remember, you insert at the bottom and then you pull, and then you pull. See? And then you pull. So I'm going to pause until I'm completely done, because it doesn't take time, but I'm trying to make the video as short as I possibly can, because I have a tip coming along at the end. Okay, wait. And you pull. Okay. When you're done, you can just push the small beads to one side and focus on the sides that are not filled yet. And remember to pull your thread, because that's important too. Okay. Here's something like this. Okay. Okay. I'm back. So I'm just missing one more line. If your button is loose like this, no, that means you should add more lines. Okay, oh, it looks like a nice it's a mini grape. Mini grape. Okay, and I insert here the same steps that I was doing, and then I guide my thread to show it where the 3 beads should go. Ooh, look. Okay, I can put it here. This part can be confusing because it will be hard to see what happened to this, what happened to that. You see? Okay, so this is my button, and as you can see here, so now I'm going to take 4 beads, and I'm going to push them at the bottom. It's going to be like the stem of your button. And then you come here, you first measure out where your button should go, and you can tell that it should go on this spot here. Okay, so I have to insert my button here, but I'm going to insert the needle in this direction. It has to be pointing down. If it is pointing up like this, nope, it has to be pointing down like this, and then you pull. Now can you see that we have like a V here? So I'm going to insert my needle here, insert my needle here. This step is complicated. It's not complicated, it has a lot of steps, you know, completing a bracelet, because anything that has to do with finishing touches, trust me. Okay, and then I on top like this, I come back on top like this. Okay, so remember, you had, for your stem you inserted 4 beads. Now I'm going to pick up 3 beads, you see, and I am going to insert my needle on the 4th bead, the first bead, that one at the top, the first bead that of the stem, and I have a situation like this. Ta-da! Have a situation like this. Now remember to tie your knot, whereby you put your needle underneath, and then you make a small circle, and then you insert your needle, and then you pull, and then you pull. I'm trying to make these beads confusing the camera, and then you pull. Bonil, did you see? Remember your loop again. Going to set my needle at the bottom of the thread, and then I pull. I make a small circle, then I insert my needle at this in the small circle. Prepositions are a challenge for me, guys. On, at, in, but it's fine. The Lord loves me. Okay, then we're done. And then I cut my thread. So remember I talked about the tip that are coming at the end. So this tip is making your thread neat. You saw me cutting, but guys, this will make your work neat. It's a tip. And a tip can work for me and it cannot work for you. Nail cutter. But make sure that you have a special nail cutter that you use for your beads, okay? Because I don't think it's a good idea to use the nail cutter that you normally use. Nail cutters, they go inside deep and they cut. That's why I love them. So they cut nicely. Unlike your scissor, your nail cutter goes deep. Even here, even when I cut out my threads, the nail cutter goes deep, unlike a scissor. So it makes your work neat. This is a tip. It might work for me, it might not work for you, but so far, it has been working. You see, especially the corner of your nail cutter. It cuts deep. Okay? And it makes the work neat. The point is so that nobody can tell. Okay, people can tell here. Look at. That's why I made my loop. See? Nice and neat. Okay. So guys, there you have it. Dun 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 dun. This is what I mean. If someone has a bigger wrist than the wrist that I have, they can set their button on this loop. Easy peasy. There you go. Thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for Saturday. We're doing something different. I don't want to talk too much because I might give give everything away. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for watching the videos. I really hope they're helpful. If you like the content that you're seeing and you'd like to see more, please consider subscribing so that you'll be the first to know when a video is out. Please don't forget to comment down below if you have challenges, if you have requests, if you have questions, and I really hope I can be able to answer them. Thank you so much, guys.